Do you think there's someone out there for everybody?
Maybe.
If you had to deliver the hard truth.
If I had to deliver the hard truth. It's our listeners, definitely, for sure.
Right.
However, like the 4chan guys, it's slim pickings for them.
Yeah, unless you reform yourself, slight chances.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Slight chances. And, nowadays, dating and finding mates is represented
finding mates, looking for females around there in the hunt that is the dating environment.
Finding people to share your life with. Now it takes place a lot online. You know what I mean? Online dating, very popular, places like Tinder and Bumble. But conservatives, they got together. And anytime they get together, it's gonna be bad.
They're feeling
news.
Ostracized by Tinder. They see that women are putting liberal in their bio and saying don't swipe if you're a conservative, and they're feeling ostracized because why should they change?
Yeah,
they're
why should
entitled.
They're feeling like pariahs, really.
Exactly.
So they got together and they made a dating app together. It's called The Right Stuff. It's a conservative-only dating app. And there's been a couple of things that popped up in news stories about this. But the funniest one I think that there is that there's people claiming that when you sign up, first you have to invite 3 other people and they have to join in order for you to join.
That's so corny.
Which is wild.
I don't understand why all these like new conservative social medias have really like strict like sign-up requirements.
Yeah,
like,
what happened to free speech?
That Truth Social has like a waiting list. Like why?
Yeah.
What's the point?
So they can censor free speech. But that's not even the worst thing. Is that when they're signing up, it asks them a few questions like a normal dating site would. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and one of the first questions it asks you was January 6th was, and then you fill in the blank. And people have reported that they filled in the blank like peaceful protest or was great, I was there, things like that. And then they said the cops showed up at their door.
No way!
I don't know how true these stories are, but if it is true, that is fucking hilarious.
That's so funny. No, that really is funny. I thought you were going to say it's something like, oh, January 6th was to me like this, like a where were you when 9/11 happened?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's the only conservative person on 9/11.
Yeah.
After the actual 9/11.
I think that's what it's supposed to be, but you have people, of course, because they're conservative.
People who are actually there.
And they have like, zero IQ. They're like self-reporting, you know what I mean? And because the federal government can monitor everything you do online, regardless of what platform it's on, they're seeing this and they're like, yeah, go investigate this person.
Tell it on yourself for coochie. That's
crazy.
crazy.
And then the other main complaint that I've seen from conservative men is that there's just no women on there. There's this one review I was reading earlier today, and they were saying, like, it's a pretty gay app. It's a great place for gay men, which is fine.
Which I'm not criticizing.
But there's no women on this app. I think it's really funny that, I think it's just so emblematic of conservatives that they try to create their own dating app and women don't go to it.
I wonder why. Like, I wonder why women don't want to go there. And especially in a post-real world. There was a Business Insider article that came out this week. 30% of women in the country have lost access to abortions. And I wonder why they don't want to date conservatives.
Yeah, and it's like other apps already allow you to put like labels on yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you're on like a dating app. Like, and it's not just political ideologies, it can be literally anything, but one of them can be like conservative.
Oh yeah,
looking for
Tinder has tags.
Exactly.
Like you can put like 5 of them on there. You can tag yourself as conservative.
And you can say you're only looking for conservatives, but the impetus for this was that they feel like people are like ostracizing them.
Yeah.
But it's like, and they feel like discriminated against. It's like, you choose to have these beliefs, brother. You don't have to believe these things. You don't have to be so invested and so hateful towards people with your political idea. You don't have to be this way.
Maybe since you're not entitled to another person, you should realize that you need to change yourself.
Yeah, wait a minute.
If you want to broaden the horizons.
This is the marketplace. This is the free market.
This is the free market. That's
if you're not changing yourself, then you are not, I don't know, you're just not valuable in the marketplace.
You're not meeting market equilibrium.
Exactly.
Honestly, the demand is way low, supply way too high.
Your demand is at 0 for you. It's just the lines are not intersecting the way you need them to. Goofy. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. We got quite the episode loaded up for you. We got to talk about Joe. We found out why Joe was sleepy. True. And we'll get there. And you'll know what I'm talking about. If
Joe is smoking indica.
Yeah. We got to talk about the protests in Iran. We got to talk about a couple of honorable mention news stories because there was actually a lot that happened this week.
There's a good bit that happened.
We got to talk about Kanye.
Little bit of Kanye going crazy.
A little bit of Kanye news, a little bit of gas news. But we'll get there. But before we get into the episode, I'm going to remind you all, head over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. Join the community. Become a patron, get access to early episodes. I know you hear me say this every single week, but for some reason, it just isn't getting through to you.
Yeah.
And if you want to see more out of Head in the Office, right? You want to see more content.
Oh.
You want to see more episodes per week. You want to see, more opportunities for you to listen to what we have to say.
You want to make it feasible for us to produce more episodes a week.
Vote with your dollar.
Vote with your dollar. I'm going to need to see bands coming my way.
This is the marketplace, and I'm just a player in the marketplace.
That's me. I'm an entrepreneur, baby. I'm right. A small business owner over here.
Also, though, I'll remind you to go buy some merch from headintheoffice.com. Also, follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Discord.
Don't forget to hit the Discord, especially if you want to be a part of the small Hiddo community.
Send us a little something non-lethal in the P.O. box.
True.
Did you check that?
I'm going. Oh fuck! See, the issue is we record on Sundays,
True.
So every time, and it's an hour commute from MSU.
Right.
So I'm like, oh well, shit, I can't really check it, but I will check it next week because I'm coming home for the weekend.
Okay, so if you did send us something or you want to, we're gonna check it. Don't even worry.
We'll get
to it. And maybe we'll hit you up with a little thank you. Maybe we'll shout you out in the episode. Who knows?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe
we're content creators.
New segment.
But before we get into the episode, it's 5-star review time.
Something else we checked
last week. We complained thoroughly
for
at least
last
2 minutes.
Week and the week before because we would have gone 2 weeks without a review. However, we missed a review from 3 weeks ago.
Exactly.
And had to read it 2 weeks ago.
We thoroughly complained, and I think our complaints were heard.
Yes.
So we have several 5-star reviews to read today. Starting off with the first one. Subject line, "These boys are certified hood classic" by Austin Britt. They say, "I started listening to Hiddo Boys this summer after seeing them on TikTok. Unfortunately, I am not the fabled Instagram Reels fan.
Damn.
Hiddo gives you the best commentary on current political events, and we need more. If you want to hear based opinions, straight facts, no cap, and certified hood classics, then this is the podcast for you. Support these beautiful boys by subscribing, joining their Patreon, and buying their merch so we can finally find that Instagram Reels fan. We need more. Austin."
What a guy.
What a guy.
Shout out Austin, for real.
Shout out Austin Britt. We love you. Second one here.
We do.
Subject line, "My Beautiful Bully Boys" by ML Honda. They said if I leave a 5-star review, they'd love me forever, so I'm here to collect. Real talk, though, this podcast keeps me informed during my commute from work and gets me the perfect amount of angry to put up weight at the gym. So glad to have a leftist podcast that isn't spineless. Keep up the great work. Your brother in Christ, Justin." Thank you, Justin.
I'll take these last three. I'll take it off.
Yeah, you got it.
I've been practicing my reading.
Okay, good. Fluent reading.
Exactly.
Teacher been calling on you in class.
I'm a good reader now. Goated with the Sauce by Mexicano Monk 2. These two quirked up white boys make my 10-hour shifts slightly more bearable. Unionized, by the way. Good for that. Sadly, almost caught up with every episode. We got a binger. We got a binger on our hands.
We do got a binger on our hands. I understand going back and listening to the old episodes, you actually get quite filled in on the news, I will say.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to be filled in on
but
the
don't feel bad that you're caught up because now you can be here with us in real time.
Exactly.
Wednesdays at noon, or if you're a patron, Sunday at 4 o'clock.
Sunday at 4 or 5, sometimes 6 o'clock when the Wi-Fi's bad.
It just depends when we get. But Sunday at some point.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Real. Sunday at some point. Next one, Weekly Star by that's Leak Digishig. Yeah, 10 out of 10. I've been listening to you guys for the better part of this year, and I wish I could get my conservative fam to understand the big important points y'all make. Keep up the awareness and judgments on these clowns we have to call leaders. Love y'all. See, you just got to put them onto the pod.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm thinking. I know a lot of people have very conservative family members. I have some conservative family members myself.
Me too.
And instead of arguing with them, I can just be like, if you want to hear every single one of my positions, follow the TikTok for short form content.
Yes.
Go to Apple Podcasts for long form content. Yes. And if you have any questions, come back to me after you became a patron. Otherwise,
I'm not going to.
Yeah, after you leave a 5-star review.
Leave a 5-star review.
Yeah,
I will read it.
Milk it for everything it's worth. You know what I'm saying?
True. Got to. Anyway, last review. Praxis My Axis by Gat Spider-Man. Do not come. That's all.
Do we still have this?
I think so.
Do not come.
There it is.
I'm gonna come.
Gat Spider-Man, recurring customer.
Facts.
Welcome back, Gat.
Shout out Gat Spider-Man.
It's been a couple of weeks, so welcome back. Anyway, it's time to get right into the episode. Joe Biden is high in the Oval Office.
That's right.
That, of course, is
Joe
not the
Biden
headline.
is contributing to the current crime wave. Joe Biden is soft on crime.
True.
And he's letting all the dark people out of prison.
He's actually chill on crime. You know what I'm saying? He's relaxed on crime. He's sleepy.
He is.
Anyway, if you know what we're talking about, in true Head in the Office fashion, Big Dark Brandon news popped off last week as soon as the pod aired on Thursday, I believe, because Biden pardoned he made an announcement that he's going to pardon several thousand people convicted of federal simple marijuana possession, which is really cool.
It's really cool, but like that, the thing is, like when I first saw the headline, I like posted on Twitter and everything because I was like, oh my god, I'm early for once. Let me get this up. I gotta hop on the grind. But I first saw the headline. It was like, oh, Biden is federally pardoning anyone who has been put in jail for simple possession of marijuana, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then I had seen later that headlines were going around like, yeah, this is gonna affect thousands of people, and I'm like, thousands?
What do you mean thousands?
Not like tens of thousands, just like thousands.
The war on drugs was a war.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that was just thousands, millions of people.
A couple thousand people. What's going on here?
Yeah, no, the plan is we'll get into the specifics of it a little bit later on and where it falls short. But first, I want to get into Biden's announcement specifically. Okay. So first, he said that he's going to pardon, again, all prior simple marijuana possession charges at a federal level. And then second, since Biden can only pardon people at the federal level, he does nothing to do with state crimes. He's calling on governors around the country to pardon people at the state level for the same crime. And then third, he said, quote, we classified marijuana at the same level as heroin and more serious than fentanyl. It makes no sense. I'm asking Secretary Becerra of the HHS and the Attorney General to initiate the process of reviewing how marijuana is scheduled under federal law.
That's fucking insane that marijuana is scheduled higher than fentanyl.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's like these three things are pretty good. Again, Biden's reach only goes so far, but this is one of the things that Biden said he would do on the campaign trail. He said he was for decriminalizing marijuana. It hasn't happened. In fact, I think people in Biden's cabinet or just like staffers for Biden have been fired for failing drug tests on weed before. Oh, wow. Which is not cool.
Yeah.
But this is finally taking steps, I think more than any other president ever has, to righting the wrongs of the war on drugs. But it's a very, very, very small step.
That's not very Dark Brandon of him.
Not very Dark Brandon.
That's more Sleepy Joe.
That's actually pretty light brand. Yeah, that's Sleepy Joe.
That's Sleepy Joe over.
That is Sleepy Joe. So why is this good? Some of you listening may have new listeners. Sometimes we get new listeners. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes if you're a new listener, welcome. Take your shoes off. Stay at home. But why is this a good thing? So for decades, criminal laws around marijuana have been enforced very unevenly. They've been used to target people of color, specifically Black Americans. I know Joe Biden mentioned this, but Black Americans specifically have been arrested 3 to 4 times more often for marijuana possession and use when compared to white people, even though white Americans and Black Americans use marijuana at similar rates. Yeah. So it's just a disparity of enforcement. It's just institutionalized racism. It's a remnant of the war on drugs is what it is.
You already know.
Yeah. This, of course, results in Black Americans at disproportionate rates not being able to do things like get jobs, find housing, apply for federal benefits because they have a federal crime on their record, which prevents them from doing those kinds of things.
Misdemeanors fuck you up.
Yeah. And of course, arrests and conviction disparities exist for all drugs. It is not just marijuana, but weed is, of course, one of the most harmless. And is silly that we even have like federal criminal laws around any laws
silly
around it,
that
really.
It's even scheduled.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because marijuana has been basically decriminalized for white people for decades. White people really don't get in trouble for having weed. It's just a way to prosecute Black people and punish them. That's really all it is. But also, weed is not, again, that damaging of a drug. It has medicinal purposes. Also, decriminalizing drugs is just wildly helpful in general. Like regulating the use of drugs.
Pretty much just strictly a good thing, especially following principles of harm reduction that we talked about in Plug Talk feat. Joseph Robinette Biden, one of our earlier episodes. Harm reduction is just good. It's bad to treat addicts like criminals because addiction is a disease.
Yeah, you're a
Nobody
victim of it,
wants to go and get addicted to heroin. Nobody when they take their first hit thinks, damn, I'm so excited to break the law and get addicted to a substance that could possibly kill me. No, they're oftentimes trying to either self-medicate or like have a good time.
Yeah.
It's not an intentional thing.
And it's like, this isn't a perfect analogy, but think of back when alcohol was illegal in the United States during Prohibition, right? You had all kinds of crime rackets pop up to peddle and sell and consume alcohol. Yeah. And it just resulted in a bunch of people ending up in jail and the poorest people not having access to the substance, or when they pay for the substance, going broke because of it. That's all it is. Like, banning these substances doesn't actually make the country more safe. It just makes a lot of people more vulnerable.
It makes criminals more sneaky.
Exactly. So it's only a good thing. And you can't, at least as far as I know, you can't really be addicted to weed in like a chemical sense in the same way that like heroin.
You can be psychologically addicted to anything, but you're not going to go through weed withdrawals.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's like regulating the use and helping people that are addicted to certain chemicals is only ever going to be a good thing.
Treating them like patients, mental health patients, rather than criminals that need to be thrown in prison.
Outright bans only hurt people, so not great. But what's the real impact, you may be asking?
Yeah,
because we mentioned it was a little bit lackluster.
How many people is this policy affecting?
So this pardon only impacts about 6,500 people.
Crazy.
And here's the strange thing. The pardon, it doesn't actually impact anyone who is convicted of simple marijuana possession and the possession of other drugs such as cocaine and heroin. So you had to have been convicted only of having marijuana on you, which apparently isn't all that common in the large swaths of people that have been convicted of drug possession in general.
Well, and it's like, I'd imagine, like, to get the federal charge, you would need other things, like, tacked on top of it.
Exactly.
Like, you can't just have weed.
Yeah, and that's also the problem, is that a lot of the times, convictions for marijuana or just other drugs are kicked down to the states, and the states prosecute them. And Joe Biden really can't do anything about what states have already done.
Yeah, he can only ask governors to consider the same pardons. And then governors like Greg Abbott can only respond by saying, absolutely not.
They're violent criminals.
People who smoke weed are literally the devil.
Yeah.
They're going to come rip your face off.
And the problem is that nobody is in jail for simple marijuana possession at the federal level. And that's according to the DOJ.
Yeah.
So this executive order isn't actually going to let anybody out of jail. It's going to expunge records, which is a good thing in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not going to free anyone from jail that has been convicted for using drugs or for having drugs on them or for even selling drugs.
Then it's
not doing anything about that.
If there's barely anyone in jail for this crime, how many records is it really going to expunge?
Right, exactly.
It's a good thing, obviously, but it's a little...
And it's especially weird because Biden specifically said, quote, "As I've said before, no one should be in jail for using or possessing marijuana." And it's like, you're not doing anything to prevent that, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Pushing a charge to legalize it. You're not trying to work out a deal with Congress to get it legalized, if that's even possible. You're not using the bully pulpit to do any of these things you should be doing.
And it's like, I know that he would sign that into law if it came to his desk. And I know that he can't do a lot for people that have been in state prisons or are in state prisons now for simple marijuana possession, like in red states, for example. He can't do anything about that, but it's just, it feels weird to tote this like it's kind of, I don't know,
a huge win.
Yeah.
It's like the railroad thing.
Yeah.
It's like toting the coming to a deal with the railroads as a big win when the rank and file haven't voted on it yet, and they could still very well strike. Like, the problem is not solved. Yeah. It's delayed.
The White House did also say, though, that they're going to stop prosecuting people for simple possession for at least for now, which is a good thing. But again, it doesn't really represent a majority of people that have been charged with drug possessions at a federal level, because according to the U.S. Sentencing Commission in 2017, they said, quote, "Only 92 people were sentenced on federal marijuana possession charges out of nearly 20,000 drug convictions."
Wow.
It's not as if, again, that this is really a big drop in the bucket. And I know this was targeted at marijuana specifically, not other drugs, but still, it's like, these fall into similar categories. Why are you not trying to do something about all of them?
Like, I don't think simple possession should be criminalized in any case. Yeah. I think drugs should flat out be decriminalized for reasons we've said before, but especially simple possession. Yeah. Like, if you're just caught with, like, even, like, I don't know cocaine numbers, a little eensy bit of cocaine.
An eensy-teensy bit, guys.
If you're caught with an eensy-teensy bit of cocaine, you shouldn't be thrown in jail. You're not a violent criminal for going and taking a bump of cocaine at a party.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's especially like contradictory, because as far as I can tell, within this executive order, nothing's being done about people that sell marijuana, that are in prison for it. Yeah. Either at the federal level or at the state level, which is of course strange, because people in jail for weed sales right now are majority people of color, or disproportionately people of color, and those now selling weed through legal means, through companies and corporations and stuff, are majority white people.
Yeah.
Which only points to, again, systemic inequalities, systemic injustices that have yet to be resolved. And again, Biden can't do everything here. He's only the president. He doesn't have legislating power. But it just doesn't feel right that he could do more, but he isn't doing more.
And it's like, I understand the optics behind not wanting to free, like, quote unquote dealers, but I feel like so many people that are getting put away for like dealing are selling to their friends. And it's like, even I know a couple people who, like, because it's legal here in Michigan, you can own up to, I think, like 12 plants legally. I don't know about like the selling laws, because again, I don't fucking deal. Yeah. But I know a couple people that'll be like, oh yeah, I'll sell you this bit that I have. I'll do this just to make it extra cash on the side, because they're all broke college kids.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's just, it speaks to, again, those systemic injustices that are remnants of the war on drugs that we've done nothing about, because, again, marijuana laws have just been used to target people of color, specifically Black Americans, that Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan and politicians like them wanted to put in jail. You know what I mean?
Like, if we're being consistent, okay, like simple possession in the eyes of the law, or this executive order, simple possession is now okay and moral. However, like, I'm going to say simple dealing isn't. Yeah. Like, I get why you couldn't free like the big weed kingpins out there that are selling big numbers to people. Yeah. But like, come on, you're telling me you're going to get a guy who's giving away a couple joints.
Right. And it's like, I don't know fully how to articulate it here, just because, we're talking specifically about like policy, but it feels strange that those that have been jailed for selling weed are going to stay in jail, while those that are now selling weed legally in states that it's legal are mostly white people, while the law has been unevenly enforced against Black Americans. Like there's something going on there that doesn't feel right, that I feel like Joe Biden could do something about.
It's like, and it's like he could do something about it. It's not about just the policy that he can sign into law, the executive orders that he can do, because I'm pretty sure he himself can deschedule weed. I don't know, though. Do not quote me on that.
It's probably like an FDA thing,
I think he might be able to deschedule
thing.
Weed himself. Or there's some fucky thing going on with scheduling. But anyway, he could just get out there and message harder.
Yeah.
He can get out there and use the bully pulpit, and he can put pressure on the conservatives in Congress to actually deschedule weed if that's what they do, or just flat out make it legal federally, because it's something everyone wants. Weed legalization is widely popular.
Right, and it's like a lot of people, and we'll get into what Tom Cotton said about this being an absolute boomer with his response, but there's a lot of people that are now they are accusing him of doing this for electoral means, right? They're
obviously
accusing him of doing this, a month out from the election, which it's a month out, by the way. Get registered if you're not already registered in your state, vote.org, whatever. But it's like, people are accusing him of doing this for electoral gain, which he obviously is. And I think the reason he didn't go farther is because right now one of the main messages from the Republican Party is crime.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and a lot of people, because drugs are used as a proxy for race arguments in this country, people speak through euphemisms now. I think that he's worried about doing more for drug users or drug sellers, because then it'll be seen as him being soft on crime, which could be a pertinent and relevant argument for people that might be voting or that will be voting in November. And I think he's worried about that.
That's true. It's just like
which isn't an excuse, by the way.
No, it's not. And I feel like that's still like detached. Like that bit of messaging that the DNC is like getting behind, that reasoning is detached from the actual like public. Because I feel like most people, even people I know that are like, you got to be fucking hard on criminals and do all that, they smoke. They don't see weed as being like an actual crime. I don't think they would view Joe Biden like doing any of that as being soft on crime. I think the only people that think like letting people out on weed charges is going to lead to an uptick in violence are, I don't know, 70-year-old motherfuckers in Congress, like Tom Cotton.
Or like suburban white people, you know what I mean?
People who have never seen weed before.
People that think it's like literally a sin.
Yeah,
they catch
the devil's lettuce.
Right, and then like some like white father that makes like $400,000 a year catches his son smoking weed and then like beats the shit out of him. Exactly. And then his son never talks to him again after running away from home. Like that's what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But also, before we move on to what Republicans are saying, it's notable to say that although this hasn't received a lot of attention, it appears that this won't apply to non-citizens.
Why?
It seems like this is only going to be, people are only going to be eligible if they're U.S. citizens. So that means immigrants that came into the country, people that aren't full U.S. citizens, don't seem to be eligible for this process, even if they meet all the requirements.
Just like for some reason.
I mean, there's probably some fucking legal reason for it. I'm sure they didn't I don't know. I feel like he would have made sure like these people could be taken care of too, but I don't know. U.S. and immigrants, you know how that kind of thing goes. Getting into what Tom Cotton said, though. Okay. He had quite the banger of a quote. He said, Tom Cotton, senator from Arkansas, Republican, of course. He said, quote, "In the midst of a crime wave and on the brink of recession, Joe Biden is giving blanket pardons to drug offenders. This is a desperate attempt to distract from failed leadership."
Like, how? Like, what do you mean?
Exactly.
What do you mean? Isn't ushering forth popular policy good leadership? Isn't that exactly what the leader of a country should be doing, is listening to the will of the people and acting accordingly to the fullest extent that they can?
Right, and it's like this goes back to what I just said about like people being scared of crime and crime being a proxy for race. It's an extension of like the broken windows theory, right? Yeah. Like when there's a broken window, there's eventually going to be violence and there's eventually going to be crime. It's the same thing for drugs, right?
Weed is a gateway drug.
Right, no, exactly. Like it's them saying things like drug use, drug pushing is eventually going to lead to more crime and more violence, and then they're going to be, raiding stores and shot. Like that's what it is. Oh, yeah. They'll offer no empirical evidence to back up those claims because it doesn't exist. But they'll say these things to scare people away from popular positions like decriminalizing marijuana or decriminalizing all drugs in this country and making it so, again, we're treating people as patients rather than victims in line with the rest of the fucking developed world. Yeah. But Republican senators need something to fearmonger, and this kind of, not really, but almost, because weed is a drug, almost plays into their crime wave narrative. But again, weed is a very popular thing.
Yeah, it's contradictory, but I think that contradiction illustrates just how the minority in this country, not minorities, the minority political party really just runs shit unpopularly. Because I think it's like, what, 70% of people are fully in support of legalizing weed federally?
Oh yeah, wildly
or even
popular
higher.
Thing.
Like it may even be higher than 70.
Right, it's a wildly popular thing to do because everyone uses it.
Yeah,
you know
literally. I maybe know one person who's never smoked before.
Right,
it's crazy.
And it's like people like even businesses have stopped drug testing people because every single time they do it, the person comes back positive for smoking weed.
Oh wow, what the heck?
Or doing some form of THC. It's like, yeah, like
now they'll give you like a piss test and tell you when it's coming up, so you know that you have to take a little tolerance break.
Yeah, it's like it is wildly popular to decriminalize marijuana or legalize it completely. And the fact that we haven't done it, I mean, it is the fault of like crazy Republican senators like Tom Cotton.
It's just crazy how such a small minority has been able to take this conversation and run it. And run policy with it. Like that's nuts. That's nuts. And even like just small tangent, I feel like companies drug testing is such a fucking invasion of privacy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That it's so dumb. Why are they allowed to do that? I remember one of my first jobs, I think it was like my second or third job in like my junior year of high school. I was a porter at like a local car dealership, right? And if you don't know what a porter is, all they do is they go to the back lot and they grab whatever car that the salesman needs to show a client. Like he'll be like, oh, take these keys, go find me this car and bring it to the front.
Right.
That's it. Those are my only job duties. Half the time I sat in the back room and watched Dragon Ball. Like
nice.
That's all I was
making
doing.
The big bucks.
Exactly. Making like $9.25 an hour.
The big bucks.
The big bucks. Michigan minimum wage. Still $2 higher than the federal minimum wage. That's all I was doing. They hair tested me.
Hair tested?
They hair tested me.
What the fuck?
Yeah, because I think a hair test goes like months back to see if there's weed in your system.
That's crazy.
They hair tested me.
What would weed use a month ago have anything to do with?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's wildly invasive. Everyone would just benefit from weed being legal. Like that's all
Everyone
it is.
would benefit from weed being legal and maybe stopping drug tests.
Also,
because whether or not you use drugs, even if it's hard drugs, really has no bearing on how well you can do your job. If someone is a like hardcore addict and really needs like mental help desperately, they're not going to get that far in the job application in the first place.
Yeah.
They're never going to get to your fucking door at whatever cubicle you work at and want to be there because they won't be able to. They'll be too busy trying to survive.
Also, like a quick way to just immediately debunk people that say like, well, crime's going to go up if marijuana is legal. There's like 20 states in this country that have completely legalized it.
Yeah.
States like Michigan have legalized it. Colorado, California, Washington, like all of these states have legalized marijuana, and it's not like crime rates have spiked or can even be attributed to the use and selling of marijuana.
Yeah.
It's like people that smoke weed are not known for their aggression and violence. You know what I mean?
And it's also funny because it's like, funnily enough, once you legalize something, crime goes down.
Yeah. Because it's not a crime.
It's not criminal anymore. It's not a criminal act.
Yeah, it's like we get to decide how these things play out.
Yeah.
We can decide if something is illegal, and rather than treating people as like, I don't know, some kind of creature, some evil villain for doing drugs, maybe we could treat them as patients that need help or just let them do what they want because freedom.
True.
You know what I mean?
True. If it's not affecting anyone else, maybe they could just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, maybe. But I guess the question is, because he also says like this is an attempt to distract from failed leadership. I guess that's him like presupposing that this is somehow going to overshadow big issues like abortion, the economy, gas prices, that kind of thing.
It's like abortion, again, another issue that's wildly popular.
Right. And it's like, it's not going to overshadow any of those things.
Yeah.
Like at this point in time, and we'll talk about the 2022 midterms a little bit later on in this episode, but at this point in time, it is like, there's a couple things on people's minds. Economy's a big one. Abortion is probably the biggest one right now.
Yeah.
And then it's Republicans being fucking insane.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, if you live in Pennsylvania or Georgia, we got a special section for you later on. It's like your candidates for Senate are crazy.
Dr. Oz, you can crudité.
Yeah.
The crudité guy.
Like he's there. I don't know. It's just Republican nonsense as always. As always.
But you know how it is with them. Speaking of other pretty much theocratic fascists.
Iran?
Iran.
We're going geopolitical today. We're going to talk about the protests in Iran. Some of you may have heard about them. A couple of weeks ago, protests sparked in Iran, and we'll get into why. But it requires a bit of background before we get into it. And we're the #1 geopolitical podcast. You also know that we love talking about the United States doing coups in foreign countries.
Yes. So we've got to tap in.
So we got to talk about it. And a little disclaimer, this is going to be super simplified. So if you know more about the history of the Middle East and U.S. involvement in the affairs of countries in the Middle East, you'll probably recognize that this is lacking some nuance.
Feel free to drop it in the comments.
Drop it in the comments, give some background, but we're going to give a speed run of U.S. involvement in Iran.
That's right.
So since the 1950s, or just about the 1950s, the U.S. has been completely fucking over Iran and other countries in the Middle East. In 1953, we ousted a democratically elected prime minister that wanted to nationalize the oil industry. They wanted to take the company away from the Brits, which I think the United Kingdom owned the company that was in Iran.
That sounds so familiar.
They basically had a monopoly over it. The PM wanted to take it away. He was just about to do it, and then we successfully installed an actual monarch, the Shah.
A theocratic monarch. We installed a theocracy.
An actual monarch. Well, it was a little bit more detached from theocracy than it is now.
True.
But we did literally install a monarch that was sympathetic towards American interests, because we also kicked the Brits out of there right after and said, this oil is ours now. This was also the first coup that we did away from Latin America.
Baby's first Middle Eastern coup.
We really spread our wings with that one. And then OPEC was created in the 1960s, basically exclusively so the West and the United States could just siphon oil off.
Wild how the tables have turned on that one.
Yeah.
Wild.
It was basically just made so the U.S. could siphon oil out of the Middle East, which... Yeah. And then following 1960, we stomped all over it in a number of ways. There was tons more interventions, tons more of, the U.S. getting its squishy little fingers all over everything that was happening. But then in 1979, we pulled the rubber band too far, and eventually it snapped, and a revolution happened in Iran.
That's right, because that's the one. It's like we ended up, we just wanted their leader ousted. And so we ousted them, and we left a power vacuum that allowed the new theocracy to gain power there. Love that.
In 1979, there was a revolution in Iran. They were against the westernization of Iran and were subsequently very, very religious. And then they installed a theocracy, a religious theocracy based on Islam, and they ended up being a pretty far-right regime. They also then established the Guidance Patrol in 2005, which was the successor to their religious police, which is a form of morality police, which is in charge of basically enforcing religious rules, but it tends to be unevenly enforced on women who are just not adhering to religious dress and religious clothing requirements.
Okay.
So that's basically what morality police are, and those are still in place today, which is what led us today to the protests that are happening in Iran.
Okay.
So a few weeks ago, a Kurdish Iranian woman named Masha Amini was visiting Tehran, and she was arrested for wearing pants that were too tight and wearing her hijab improperly. So the religious police, they pulled up in their little van, they detained her, they took her into the van, and then they eventually released her. As soon as she was released, she had a heart attack and fell into a coma and later died. And she was 25 or something like that.
I thought, wasn't she just immediately brought to the hospital because she had a heart attack and died in the hospital of brain failure?
Yeah. And the police, they were saying that they didn't harm her. I think the police chief was like, well, the other police in the car said nothing happened.
Yeah. We investigated ourselves and found we did nothing wrong.
Right. Right. But the hospital reported that she had been repeatedly hit over the head. And you can basically imagine, in a theocracy, if a woman is wearing a hijab improperly, she gets taken into a van, she starts saying you can't tell me what to do. And they hit her over the head a couple of times. That seems to be exactly what happened. And the killing of Amani sparked nationwide protests against the government. The Iranian government is still very strange. It has the Ayatollah as the supreme leader of Iran, but also has some sort of parliamentary system. We're not going to get into it too much, but it's a very weird government.
Idea.
But anyway, people were lighting stuff on fire. Women have been taking off their hijabs. Men were standing in solidarity with them. So protests have been happening for weeks now. Protests are happening around the country, and somewhere around 150 people have been reported to be killed, but some figures say that it's probably higher than that.
That's crazy.
With police using actual bullets on people. Yeah. So not great at all. There's reports of police using shotguns and actual bullets on protesters.
Bullets,
yeah. And the Iranian government has restricted access to the internet, so there's really no way to tell what's happening right now, at least from an outsider's perspective. Yeah. Not great.
Not great over there. What a good time.
Yeah, obviously we're in full support of protests against far right governments, and specifically the Iranian government. But it's important to note that America as a whole should tread carefully here because we do not have a good track record when it comes to this kind of thing. The last thing we should probably do is have like, a 3-letter organization step in.
Last thing
and
we
then
should
secure
do
us
is
better oil deals. Yeah.
Last thing we should do is sponsor like a really fringe group that was like on the fringes of society already beforehand to come through and sort of take power in the region and then stay on our payroll for a little while. That's not something we should do. And I guess it goes without saying that but I'm still going to say it. Our criticisms here are obviously not towards Islam as a whole.
Oh yeah, of course.
Just towards far right theocracies.
Yeah, of course.
It's like when I shit on like Brett Kavanaugh for being like a crazy Christian or something. I'm not shitting on Christianity as a whole.
Right.
Or I'm just shitting on them.
Or it's like if we say, it's like when we, I think like a year ago at this point, last summer, when we covered what was happening in Israel in regards to Palestine and Gaza, the Gaza Strip, that kind of thing. We're not coming out against Judaism as a religion, right? Like we're not saying being Jewish is bad. What we're saying is that the form of government that is enforcing these rules is necessarily being oppressive towards a group of people. Yeah. And she was a Kurdish Iranian, so there's a racial element tied up in that. Kurds are a minority in Iran, so it's like that this government the role of this government is to oppress those kinds of people, and that's exactly what they were doing. But again, like America shouldn't come in and try to secure better oil deals.
No color revolutions around here.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be great. And some people have said like, oh, this is obviously the CIA that's doing this. I don't know that there's really evidence to that. I can't dispel it necessarily. It seems to me more like the people have for a long time in Iran been dealing with religious police and crackdowns from police, and they've been unhappy with it. And the Iranian government is obviously a far right theocracy that really gives no wiggle room for freedoms. So people have, rightfully gotten upset about it. And just like in America, the death of somebody at the hands of the police kicked off massive protests. Yeah. And there's no telling that there's going to be structural change, but one can hope.
Because a lot of people were comparing it to the George Floyd protests. Yeah. And I think it's accurate. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. I can't imagine anyone who isn't a religious nut job would be cool with the morality police walking around enforcing dress rules.
Right, exactly.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And I think the sentiment, and I don't know a ton about the culture in Iran, but I would guess the sentiment is something like, people recognize the freedoms that are offered in countries like America, at least in terms of religious freedom. Yeah. But they don't necessarily, they're wary of actually moving closer to America because they know what that's like. You know what I mean? Like with our backing of the Shah and our ousting of a democratically elected leader because we labeled him as a communist. Like countries that are doing sorts of revolutions right now where they're pushing back against their far-right governments are in a really weird position, especially a country like Iran that has been, as much as they can, detached from the United States against westernization, but are now faced with, well, what do we do if we're ousting a far-right leader and the U.S. basically controls every resource in the world? Yeah, like we can't turn to the United States because we know what that's like, but we can't have our own people do
in
this.
Like almost complete isolation because the U.S. will play both sides to our outcome.
Yeah,
no matter what happens, we'll play both sides.
Exactly, and of course,
it'll always end with it being worse.
Yeah, and it's like our goal as America, the United States, is always going to be what's the best deal for oil. You know what I mean? Like how can we best facilitate the transfer of oil around the world
with gas prices going like they are right now, though.
Right, exactly. Woo! So I'm obviously standing with and supporting this revolution, or at least just the protests in general. I hope something more comes of it, and I hope they get what they're looking for.
Exactly. Hope good things happen.
It's time to bring us back home, though. Back to the good old United States. Back to the good old US
is fun and all, but I bleed red, white, and blue.
We got to do an honorable mention news story speed run because a lot happened this week. We got to do a quick highlight reel. We got to cover a bunch of information. So, with less than a month to go before Election Day, it was just revealed that while at Columbia University between 1989 and 2010, Dr. Oz facilitated experiments that killed 300 puppies with the injection of expired drugs into their hearts.
Wow.
So that's crazy. From the Daily Beast, they said, quote, Columbia was forced to pay $2,000 in fines in 2004 for violating federal laws that prohibit animal cruelty. This all happened while Dr. Oz was signing off on these experiments.
That's insane. I feel like it's especially like you have to be especially cruel to get an animal cruelty charge labeled at you in the context of like laboratory experiments.
Right.
Like we will literally breed rats that have no bacteria in their gut biome just to like understand how it affects their metabolism.
Right.
We will keep these animals in complete isolation. We'll just take their organs out. We grow ears on the back of rats. Like we create Horrors, man-made horrors
beyond my
comprehension in the lab, and then just kind of brush it off because it's like for science, right?
Yeah.
You gotta be extra cruel. You have to do something crazy unethical. Like why? I can't imagine injecting expired drugs into the hearts of puppies. Is
300 puppies.
300 puppies
with no sedatives or anything like that.
Doing much to understand LD50, ED50, any other like pharmacological measurement that you need.
Yeah, so apparently Dr. Oz is a puppy killer. Not a narrative that I expected to come out a month before an election. But to get away from this news, Dr. Oz attended a fundraiser hosted by the in-laws of Matt Gaetz, where he gave a speech in front of one of Adolf Hitler's cars, which had a swastika on it.
What?
Isn't that crazy? So crazy I couldn't even get through it without stuttering. I couldn't even believe my own writing.
Like the car had a swastika like on like the door.
Yeah, it was like on like the front of it kind of area. It was like an old-timey World War II car. It was one of Adolf Hitler's. I don't know if it's a replica or just like an actual, like the actual car's in a museum preserved. But the in-laws of Matt Gaetz, for some reason, were doing a fundraiser, and they invited Dr. Oz and some dude running for Senate in Nevada, and they both spoke in front of this car that had a swastika on it. Like, how do you do? Whoever is like, okay, we've been saying this for months now. Whoever's on the Oz campaign is playing for our side.
Like
they got someone in there playing for us.
Like we shit on, what was it, Madison Cawthorn, right, for going to Auschwitz. Like he went to Auschwitz or somewhere and like did like a photo op. Like,
and he said this shit was cool.
This shit is cool. It's pretty cool up here. How?
Yeah.
The PR team. It's a swastika.
Yeah, it's just a swastika.
Like.
It's the Nazi, like
it's the Nazi thing,
Nazi
like
symbol,
it's the thing, it's the evil symbol,
the most evil symbol you can find,
the most evil symbol in the last 100 years. That's insane. And this got by everyone. They thought it was a good idea. They thought this was a good idea. Like that's how emboldened conservatives are feeling right now, that they can get up there and stand in front of a literal swastika and not think that it's going to be a negative PR hit.
And it's not like it was like draped behind him or anything. Like
he's got two red banners going nuts.
It was like behind him in the background, and people pointed out like, this is Hitler's car. Like, why are you speaking in front of it? But it's just like it's crazy. And this wasn't even the craziest news story that came out this week.
Like that's not even a dog whistle; it's a trumpet. Like it's
like
an air horn.
He's just open, and it's
it's just going.
And it's like in years past, in elections past, you would have think that kind of thing immediately sinks an election.
Got to, should have.
But I guess, well, I mean, it's like Mitt Romney. There was reports that Mitt Romney strapped his family dog to the top of a car, like on a road trip, and bro did lose the election. So I guess Republicans don't far too fall from the tree. I guess that's the narrative.
They love
here.
Animal cruelty.
Yeah.
That's something we need to hop on.
Shit.
That's the messaging we need to hop on.
But again, that's not even the craziest thing that happened this week, because in news that dropped about maybe 24 hours after Oz was killing puppies, it came out that Herschel Walker had several kids with several different women, and text leaked of him urging one of them to get an abortion both in 2009 and in 2011.
He's a serial offender.
Yeah. The woman did get an abortion in 2009, and she showed receipts of that to, I think, the Daily Beast is who reported this initially. And then she gave birth to one of Herschel Walker's children in 2011. So she did get an abortion the first time he asked, but didn't get an abortion
the same
time.
one?
It was the same person.
Crazy. He went back for it?
Yeah, and apparently he's got like kids with 4 different women, and of course Kristen Walker is, the big one that everybody knows about because he's an influencer now.
You gotta go to nasty liberals.
Exactly. And of course right-wingers came to his defense, but before that, Kristen Walker was popping off on Twitter, calling out his dad, saying like, this man does not support family values. He threatened to kill my mom.
He said we had to move 4 times in 4 months because he was threatening to kill me and my family.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah, and he's
Bro's got CTE from all the fucking from his football career.
Herschel Walker is brain damaged.
He's got to have CTE.
Yeah, no,
it's got to be CTE
and
brain.
It's because he played football for he's brain damaged. You know what I mean?
He's been hit in the head one too many times.
And you would think abortion's one of the number one issues right now in politics because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade and all the conservative psychos doing everything they're doing. You would think again that this would sink a normal campaign. But no, right-wingers are rallying to his defense. Because I have Dana Leosh. She defended him. She's some radio talk show host. And she said, quote, "I don't care if Herschel Walker paid to abort endangered baby eagles. I want control of the Senate. If the Daily Beast story is true, you're telling me Walker used his money to reportedly pay some skank for an abortion, and Warnock wants to use all of our money to pay a bunch of skanks for abortion." That's just fucking crazy.
That's brilliant. That framing is absolutely brilliant, honestly.
At least she's honest.
She said it's the lesser of two evils. What do you mean?
At least she's like honest about it all. That's fucking crazy.
I like how when like a controversy happens like this to a conservative, they don't go like, okay, we need to like rally our support around a different candidate or something. They double down on that one. They just double down on Herschel Walker. In the same day, he had a confirmed abortion, literal receipts. Like that's nuts. That's crazy for one. Threatened to murder his family. Actual just abuse allegations from his own son came out. And people rallied behind him.
And he's still a viable candidate, and he's just basically said, like, they're lying. All of them are lying.
I saw that Warnock started polling ahead of him last week, and I'm sure this is why, but, like, I would hope.
I mean, I hope so, but also the fact that it's even a close race, the fact that we even have to consider that someone like Herschel Walker could get into the United States
literal
Senate
abuser
for a 6-year term is fucking crazy.
Yeah, but it's kind of like what we talked about the other week with that little Adam Levine tidbit, where it's like, I like how in this situation the woman is the skank.
No, yeah.
She like she is the skank for like fucking Herschel Walker and getting an abortion. She tempted him to fuck out of his marriage.
The single parent is the one that's the skank, the one that's mothering a child, not the man that was, famous for his career in the NFL, now is running for Senate, that had kids with several different women, and wasn't really a father to any of them. He's not the skank, like, but the woman here is. Yeah, okay.
If he was a liberal, the things that they would be saying about him would be fucking insane.
Oh yeah.
It would be a smear campaign to match all smear campaigns. And I think it's especially egregious that they can rally behind a candidate who's like, again, receipts for an abortion. That's wild. Who has those? They can rally behind him in an era where
she kept the receipt from 2009.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. But we're also in an era right now where right before the midterms, we've seen a lot of right-wingers quiet down on abortion because they know how unpopular their position is. We've seen candidates here in Michigan, Tom Barrett. I'm pretty sure I'm in the district in Lansing for Alyssa Slotkin.
Okay.
So I'm consistently getting like attack ads back and forth from Tom Barrett and Alyssa Slotkin. And one of the attack ads against Tom Barrett, the conservative candidate, is that he literally took his support for abortion, for being pro-life, off of his campaign website after Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
Because he knows how deeply unpopular it is. Same thing happened to Ken Paxton, the attorney general in Texas, when they did an awful thing a couple weeks ago that I can't quite remember.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fucking crazy that Herschel Walker is within spitting distance of the U.S. Senate. And it's like, like polls for Warnock may be looking up right now, or maybe a couple of polls reported that he's doing a little bit better, but it's going to be one of those like 59-40 or 49-51 situations, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be, and it may not even be that. We may have to go to a runoff again.
Doesn't that take it to a runoff is if one gets less than
50%. It could be that there's some third-party candidate that siphons away 1% of the vote, and then it's 49-48.
That's insane.
And they got to go to a runoff again. And like it's like there's a reality where Herschel Walker becomes a U.S. senator despite all of this nonsense, and right wingers don't care because, and at least Dana Leosh is being like honest here. All they care about is power.
Yeah,
and I kind of wish that lefties would see that sometime and would embrace that, because I feel like a lot of the time the left, liberals specifically, but the left in general is like allergic to power because they feel like for some reason it's immoral to grab power for power's sake, when all of political history is about how well and efficiently you wield power. I don't want Dana Leosh to do it because she's fucking insane, but if we wield political power, we'll expand rights for people, and that's what's important.
Yeah, it's like how people like always argue like, oh, actually, like I just don't vote. I don't vote liberal because they know that I have to vote for them or else it's going to be fascism. Like, yeah, because it's going to be fascism if they don't get into office.
Right, you lose your rights, yeah.
Again, Roe v. Wade, as much as I hate Hillary Clinton, Roe v. Wade is a direct consequence of Hillary Clinton not winning the presidency in 2016. Like, that's just fact of the matter, plain and simple, point blank. That's why Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Yeah. Yeah, not great, but there's a little bit of Herschel Walker news for you.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see if this does literally any crazy again, that it might not do anything to his chances. He might just be fine. And it's like, because this information coming out, like to a liberal, to someone who might be on the fence, obviously it's a big deal. But to someone that is fully against abortion, I mean, it's like they know Raphael Warnock isn't against abortion, he's for abortion.
For a one-issue voter. I saw the take on Twitter, a couple of people being like, well, Herschel Walker's a godly man, despite Raphael Warnock being a pastor.
Yeah, literal reverend.
Reverend, like him being a literal reverend, an actual man of God. Yeah. That Raphael Warnock, or Herschel Walker is a godly man, and God forgives. God preaches forgiveness, and we can all change.
Guys, it was 10 years ago. Who cares?
Yeah, come on now. What's good with that?
Yeah, no, I guess
Raphael, he's anti-abortion now.
Yeah, exactly.
Herschel Walker is no.
Other way
Raphael
around.
Warnock is pro-abortion now.
Yeah.
But Herschel Walker is anti-abortion now. So that's what matters to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if this will change anyone's mind. I just hope to God that Georgia can keep it together and
literally
get this dude out.
It's
and make it so he can't win.
It just sucks that Warnock doesn't have such an unlikable candidate going against him, because it's at least Herschel Walker has a personality.
Yeah.
But Kelly Loeffler,
yeah,
she was devoid of charisma.
True. It's all these Republican candidates from across the country are just absolute dog shit. You got Blake Masters saying the Unabomber was right about a couple of things. You got Dr. Oz killing puppies. You got Herschel Walker completely going in opposition to what conservative values on abortion are supposed to be. Yeah. And these people might win. These people could win. How is Blake Masters gonna win against the coolest dude on the he was an astronaut.
No facts.
Mark Kelly's an astronaut.
He's all right policy wise. He's just okay.
Not
but he was an astronaut. He has a space company.
He's like a hero.
He's like Elon Musk, but not as bad.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's the fact that these people might win is we're in an interesting time in political history.
Even going back to what you said about I wish we could do that sometimes. I really do, because too often I think we let perfect be the enemy of good when it comes to candidates. I think there's a lot of rightful criticism against Bernie when it comes to how he talks about race. Because a lot of the times he can be a little class reductionist, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't support Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton or basically any other Democrat. There are valid criticisms that should not get in the way of grabbing power when we need to grab power, because politics is ultimately about power.
Right. No, yeah, exactly. It's all about power and how you wield that power. And right now, all of our politics, partly just because of how the system is set up, is just engulfed in the party system. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who you are as a person, as long as you vote in line with the Democrats or vote in line with the Republicans. That's all that matters when it comes to the expression of that political power. Now, liberals do care about the individual candidates that they have going up for office. You know what I mean? If it came out that I don't know, someone that says they're pro-abortion now was secretly behind closed doors, completely against abortion, and didn't let anybody get an abortion that's in their family, people would care about that.
Oh yeah,
I would care about that.
For sure. If a liberal was accused of sexual assault, 29 counts of sexual assault, I don't think the DNC would let them run.
No, yeah, exactly.
That's a good thing.
But Republicans don't care about that. They recognize power for power's sake, and they know that the game that they're playing, and that's the thing that they kind of have, I don't know, an advantage when you compare them to liberals. They know the game that they're in, and they're willing to play it because they're soulless creatures who know nothing other than owning political power and using it against their enemies. No, I wish that we would do that too. Anyway, in other news, Russia threatened to nuke Ukraine.
Didn't Biden come on and say that this is the closest we've ever been to nuclear Armageddon?
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Anyway, Putin's getting his ass beat, and he's threatened to escalate as high as anyone ever could by ending the human race.
I've seen articles saying that people close to him, his advisors have said, just launch a couple mini nukes.
Yeah,
just go for it. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Do you know if Biden said if Putin drops nukes on Ukraine, we're dropping nukes on them? Because that's the end of the world, right?
That's what's gonna happen. I imagine if any nuke gets dropped anywhere, they're just getting gone.
Yeah, no,
we're gone.
Yeah,
we could be recording the pod.
We haven't talked about Russia and Ukraine for a while. I mean, the real update is that Ukraine's beating them back. Ukraine has a lot of help because of NATO forces, supplying them with weapons and stuff like that. So Russia is not doing well.
There have been a couple things. Didn't Russia just annex some territory?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Russia annexed a good bit of territory. In
Ukraine, Elon Musk was on Twitter trying to negotiate a peace deal.
Oh my god!
I think it wasn't Zelensky. It was somebody else in the Ukraine government that was basically fuck off.
Yeah. And then I quote tweeted this reply because it blew my mind. Somebody tweeted why would you something along the lines of why would you not listen to Elon Musk? He just proposed this deal and Zelensky's just turning him away because he's a liberal or because he wants money. And it's just imagine typing that with your own two fingers. That's so fucking stupid. You're telling someone who's the leader of a country that they need to listen to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Come on.
Elon Musk worked for his money.
Yeah. Oh my god.
In some other news, before we move on from this, DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, may be dead for good.
Oh, really?
DACA has been tried in court a bunch of different times, but in 2021, a Texas court, of course, ruled that it was unconstitutional. And then Biden's administration appealed that up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and they just agreed with the ruling.
The Fifth Circuit Court is the awful one, right?
That's the one with the two.
That's the one with the two Reagan appointees that like always comes up in these cases.
Reagan? That's crazy.
I think they date back to Reagan.
That's tough. If that's true, that's tough.
Because I remember we covered it. It might even be a year ago now that we covered the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. But there's it's either that one or another one. I think, do they cover like New Orleans and shit or like hail from there? I have no idea how the big courts work. I just focus on the big one that's awful.
The big one, you know what I'm saying?
The biggest one, the SCOTUS one that wants you to be homeless.
Yeah. Anyway, DACA is it's the program that makes it so kids that are brought into the United States illegally that are under the age of 18 aren't immediately kicked out of the country.
Yeah.
It makes it so they can, I think it gives them a 2-year waiver period where they can do things like, I don't know, get a green card or a work permit or something like that. So they don't get immediately booted and they can like stay in the United States.
They can have a life.
It's only a good program that doesn't, brutalize and do violence against young people. And conservatives have been rallying against it ever since Obama passed the executive order in like 2012. They've been trying to get rid of it. And now I guess they ruled it unconstitutional because apparently the president's not allowed to do that.
That's so fun. And I have no hope that any appeal to this current SCOTUS would do anything other than that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, especially because immigration has only ever been statistically proven to help the economy.
Yeah.
And right now, Republicans are complaining that the economy is awful. So we got to kick the workers out. Or we got to kick people that do want to work out of the country.
Real.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like even continuing this little highlight reel, and going back to nuclear Armageddon. Was it this past week when North Korea launched a missile over Japan?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
That was wild. I don't
really know anything about it. But I
sat there. I don't know much about it either. I just wanted to bring it up because we were talking about existential dread.
Nice.
I was sitting there at the dinner table and I get the Twitter notification. I'm like, huh? Huh?
It's crazy. Let's hope that nuclear Armageddon doesn't happen.
Real.
That would be bad.
Or at least
especially because we haven't been covering Russia-Ukraine recently, so that'd be really weird if that happened.
Yeah.
Reality only exists insofar as I perceive it, so better stop.
True. Mm-hmm. And it's like, at least like if nuclear Armageddon is going to happen, don't do it the week that I have like an exam.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to spend my last few days on Earth studying for that exam.
Could you do it like a month after that exam is done or like before I ever got to take it? You know what I mean?
Or hear me out. Could you do it like
Never?
after I like get accepted, like a job offer accepted, but before I actually start working? So I have time to like, just have fun before I start working for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And then I never have to work for the rest of my life because it's over.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The nuclear holocaust happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't got to worry about anything, in fact.
Or maybe just don't do that. Putin, maybe just take the L, go home. We promise that we won't be too mean to you.
But I'm a leftist. I don't want to work.
Oh, true.
That's why you got to hit the Patreon, patreon.com/headintheoffice.
Exactly. Moving on.
I'm sure you've all noticed this past week. Honestly, this past 2 weeks, I started to notice it. The price at the pump is going up, baby.
Oh, I noticed it when I had to fill up my car today.
Absolutely. Last week, I started to notice. I was like, hold on. Gas had been like $3, like $3.80 for like a good, like maybe even month.
Uh-huh.
Like for a good month, gas was like $3.80.
I think it was for the last like 4 months, gas, or 4 months until now, of course, gas had been going down. It had only ever been decreasing. Mm-hmm. From the peak, it hit like, at least in Michigan, I think the peak was like 5-something, 6-something. Maybe in certain parts it was 6, but like around where I am, it was like 5.12 or something like that.
Something like that.
But after that, it had only ever been going down. So we were making progress.
That's 4 weeks.
Yeah,
because it was like the beginning of September when it was like $5, and I was like, this shit better not hit $6. Like, please, come on now. But anyway, gas was like $3.80, right? And I noticed I saw that 4. I saw that 4 when I was going to fill up, and I said, "What's going on here, Joe? Why'd you press the gas up button right before midterms?
Yeah.
Why did you press the gas up button right before midterms?" And now it's up to as high as like $4.50. Like it's going to cost me $4.50 a gallon to go fill up before I go back to college today, and I'm reeling from that decision. Honestly, it's been in the back of my mind this whole time, but those are going up, and I don't know exactly why gas prices have went up other than Joe Biden pressing the button.
Yeah.
There's been things that happened in Nord Stream 2, but they shouldn't be affecting global supply because Nord Stream 2 was not pumping gas actively because, the war in Europe.
Right, exactly.
But other than that, there was just like an attack, and some people are saying that, maybe the United States attacked Nord Stream 2 so that they could like something about OPEC, yada, yada, yada. I don't know much about it. It seems like a fringe theory. I think Russia's trying to say it was Ukraine. I don't really know what's going on with regards to that because that's not what's affecting gas prices.
Right.
But what will be affecting gas prices is OPEC Plus just met in Vienna to decide that they are going to limit supply to levels as low as what they were during the pandemic.
Oh, nice.
So during peak gas price time.
During the pandemic?
When
people were driving the least, right? Like when people weren't moving around because of the pandemic and,
yes,
work at home stuff.
It was after the initial supply shock and like the whole oil barrel going to less than $0 for the oil futures thing happened. And after like the initial like pandemic and more of like the latter half where they were trying to recover, they're limiting supply to like pandemic levels. So really low levels, the lowest that they've been in a long time.
Oh, great.
Just cause. So there's about to be a little bit more squeeze at the pump and that's really fun. And that has it's triggered a lot of U.S. leaders like here to start calling out Saudi Arabia, which I think is cool. And the optimist in me says that like Bernie Sanders went on and tweeted, we need to completely cut ties with Saudi Arabia. Like they are just bad people over there. Like the Saudi kings or whatever the fuck, their kingdom.
Yeah, no, they're king.
Their
it's a
theocracy.
Kingdom. It's a kingdom, yeah.
The Saudi theocracy has just been doing awful things. They've been murdering journalists.
Yeah.
Just American journalists, and we've said nothing about it. They've been, we have been, in our support for Saudi Arabia, we have been complicit in genocide in Yemen.
Yep.
So it's like, the optimist in me says, hey, maybe this will tell Joe Biden to cut ties a little bit with Saudi Arabia to kind of rein them in because they rely on us for their genocide in Yemen.
Yeah, of course.
We supply the bombers that they use to kill all the Yemenis kids.
Yeah.
So we could stop that. That'd be very cool.
I mean,
the realist in me says that's not what's going to happen. Our relationship with Saudi Arabia isn't going to be damned at all. We're going to keep like suckling the tea of OPEC Plus, and instead, right wingers are going to take this opportunity to say that we need to be energy independent and start pumping more gas. And I think that liberals might cave.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't think we could ever really, at least at this point in history, sever ties with Saudi Arabia because they are a major player when it comes to just the entire, supply chain of oil in general. They're a very important player, and we have stood by them through all of the atrocities they've committed because it's good for the U.S. economy, U.S. corporate interests, et cetera, good for profits. And we haven't gotten away from them thus far, so I don't really see any reason that we would do it now.
I don't think so.
I don't think the world hegemonic project that the U.S. is in charge of really leaves room for any consideration of how good these people are.
No.
I mean, it's a kingdom. I don't know that we really expect any better behavior out of them. But to the point that liberals might cave, I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Like, I feel like they might, especially with midterms ahead, because gas prices are already a thing. Gas prices are going up. If this supply shock takes place like soon, gas prices will be up during midterms.
Right.
And the Republicans are going to say Joe Biden pressed the button.
Yeah.
So he needs to go and lease more federal land for drilling.
I wish liberals could take this opportunity to be strong enough to say, no, we don't need to rely on oil energy independence. What we need to do is invest more in clean energy that we can produce here infinitely because it is renewable and it works off of the sun.
Guys, we will never run out of the sun reserves.
Exactly.
However, the strategic oil reserves
we have several hundred billion years before we have to worry about
Guys, we have lots of sun. Let's figure out how to use that before we use the dinosaur bones that are running out.
Yeah, but I don't think liberals can really make that argument efficiently because, one, a lot of them are just owned by coal and oil and gas companies that will not like a revolution in renewable technologies. Yeah. I don't think that a lot of them are willing to make that argument because then they would lose a lot of their donors and lose a lot of the power that they have in Congress. But also that requires a radical redistribution of resources in a way that would, I don't know, just make it a lot easier to facilitate that change towards clean energy. And I don't think that they have the capacity to do that either. I only think it's like people like Bernie Sanders that are willing to really think up things like that. Or like maybe your Elizabeth Warren AOC types too.
It just baffles my mind how conservatives are so anti-renewables, like regular everyday conservatives.
Right, and it didn't used to be that way.
Like not just the politicians, because I understand that they are all paid off and they're all demons and barely people. Like if you can even call them people, like Ted Cruz. You know what I mean? They're all paid off by ExxonMobil, British Petroleum, and everything. But regular everyday people are so opposed to the shift in renewables, and I don't understand. I don't understand the mentality of because part of it is they don't like that we're so intertwined with other nations. They don't like globalism.
Yeah.
They want America to be self-sufficient. Why would you want America to be self-sufficient on a finite resource and have nothing in the background that they can rely on eventually? That like the sun.
Yeah, and it's also like they don't really understand how oil production works.
Yeah.
Because the oil that we extract here isn't just immediately turned into gas that you then put in your car. There's a whole system of supply chains that relies on other countries to extract different types of oil, like crude oil and whatever the other types are, refineries and that kind of thing. Like, we can't do that on our own. We rely on countries like Russia to help us with that process, and we can't be entirely independent. We could get towards that independence if we relied on green energy, if we relied on clean energy, stuff from the sun, from solar power, from wind energy, from water energy, but we don't do that.
Because we get a significant percentage of our oil from, I think, Canada and Russia.
Yeah.
It's wild. Even when we had, quote unquote, energy independence under Trump, that was a fucking lie. All that meant was that we were producing as much like crude oil as we consumed in like petroleum oil, whatever the fucking manufacturing oil you want to use. But it didn't mean we were self-sufficient.
It wasn't just like balancing imports and exports.
It's balanced imports and exports because you rely on those global supply chains.
Right.
Specialize, specialize in whatever, the fucking Henry Ford assembly line thing.
Yeah, no, we're just maximizing comparative advantage, like
there
from
you
country
go.
to country.
He brought out the econ words.
Yeah, no, that's really all it is. And like for those that don't, comparative advantage just means specialization, right?
Yes.
It just means countries doing what they can do best, which varies from place to place and entirely depends on your geography. It entirely depends on the resources that you have within your borders in order to do that. And yeah, it's weird that conservatives are so against it because they didn't used to be against renewable energy.
Yeah.
Like Richard Nixon founded the EPA with an executive order. Richard Nixon,
and then Trump just gutted it. Yeah. Like it's wild. It's wild.
And it's like it would be economically good to invest in renewable energies because that's thousands, if not millions of new jobs. It's an entirely new industry that we could invest in, but we don't do it.
It's an industry that we could invest in and lead the world on.
Yeah.
We could lead the world on a good thing, not a bad thing for once.
Yeah.
For once in America's existence. That'd be crazy. The sun doesn't run out.
And it's like, it's just these axiomatic, beliefs that Republicans hold that are just, they're in complete opposition to clean energy. Like I saw people during like the week when Hurricane Ian was running through Florida, people were saying things like, wow, I bet Floridians are really glad they don't have electric cars now. And it's like, dog, they can't get to the fucking gas station either. What do you mean?
Yeah. No, I in that same vein, I had seen people coming through and it's like, wow, look at all the good renewable energy has done for the people in Florida. That's not that's not how it works, motherfucker. Like
he's like, wow, the sun's not shining. What are they gonna do? It's like, we can build technology to store energy, guy. Like come on.
Didn't Dennis Prager or some other right-wing nut job, I don't mind lying on Dennis Prager's name, didn't some right-wing guy say something like, we had hurricanes hundreds of thousands of years ago and we still have hurricanes. I don't think it's climate change.
Oh my, I don't know what you're talking about, but probably, yeah.
I mean,
Twitter. Yeah, because that's always the argument, as if climate change doesn't make these problems drastically worse.
But what about the Ice Age?
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Global warming is actually, that's the Alex Jones take, is that global warming is actually good because it means we're not going to have another ice age.
Oh, because we were getting close beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. We're due for another ice age.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, good luck at the gas pump today, everybody. Yeah. And for the next few weeks, probably.
I'm praying for you. Fill up now, because that shit's just going up.
Yeah.
It's going up.
Just drop like $300,000 and buy an electric vehicle. Those are accessible.
Yes. Yeah. Just drop all your bank account to buy a Tesla, in fact.
It's like Republicans they get really mad about gas prices. They get mad that like we're not doing anything for energy independence. And then they just give all of them, every single one, votes against investments in renewables to make electric vehicles more accessible to everybody as a part of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Like, dog, what's wrong with a wind farm?
Yeah.
I don't get it. They look kind of cool from afar as well.
Well, that's what caused the power outage in Texas.
Yeah, you don't understand.
3% of their power grid was ran by wind. 3% of their
power grid was ran by wind, and they made the intentional choice to save money and not weatherize their wind farms so that they could handle anything like that.
No, exactly.
And why would I want to pay for that?
Yeah,
when I can just pay for gas.
That's what ruined the Texas power grid back, like, was it February of last year or something? That's what ruined the power grid, even though the solar farms stayed up and held up better than the piping did that ran under houses.
Because, again, the sun doesn't run out.
Exactly.
And the sun doesn't freeze.
Yeah.
To keep that one in mind.
The sun is not suffering because of climate change. Anthropogenic climate change, that is.
Facts.
The sun's actually removed from that situation. But, you know.
Moving on to our final bit of, not even news coverage, honestly, just fucking another right-wing nut job coverage. But this one's probably the only conservative that has ever made good art.
Yay.
We're going to talk about Yeezus and Tucker's fated meeting last week.
We're talking about Ye.
Talking about Ye. Legal name Ye.
Legal name Ye.
Formerly known as Kanye West. Alternatively known as Yeezus.
Skeet Davidson. Fuck that guy.
Fuck Skeet Davidson. That's right. Anyway, so Kanye, if you didn't know what he did, he ran like a fashion show last week. Yeezy Season 9. It was a surprise fashion show. And he pulled up wearing a White Lives Matter t-shirt.
Yeah. And didn't a bunch of the models back out after they saw that?
I don't think it was a bunch of models backed out, but they were never coming in the first place.
Oh, really?
Like he name dropped like Rihanna and Beyonce.
Oh.
I don't think they were coming in the first place to the surprise Yeezy Season 9 fashion show.
Oh, he just made it up?
I'm pretty sure he just lied. I wouldn't put it past him to just fucking
Disclaimer,
lie.
Kanye West is mentally ill.
I don't think anyone really needed that. But yeah, so he ran his fashion show, White Lives Matter on a t-shirt, right? Like that's his Yeezy Season 9 item.
Nice.
And you know who else he had there? Candace Owens. He brought out Candace Owens to also wear a White Lives Matter t-shirt.
Yeah.
So that's why you know that this isn't just like art. This is political. But don't get me wrong, we're going to be discussing art later on in here.
And it's like,
meanings.
This isn't even the first time Kanye West has pulled a stunt like this. Like he wore, was it like a year ago? Or maybe it was like a decade ago at this point. He wore a jacket with the Confederate flag on it. Like he was doing it to be edgy, but never has he brought out Candace Owens. So that's a first.
Like, he was doing it to be edgy, and honestly, back then, still vile and wrong, and I don't support it. Still bad art. But however, he was still doing like art. He was still trying to be subversive.
Yeah.
Because back in 2013, we didn't have the context that we have now. And that's what I'm going to get into with this. But anyway, where does Tucker come in? Tucker saw this fashion show and immediately hopped on the opportunity.
Of course.
And got a fucking interview, one-on-one, sit down with Kanye West.
Yeah. Tucker Carlson, the most watched news broadcaster in the country.
Exactly. And pretty much this is how it goes. So Kanye opened up with a really corny bit about how his lanyard from Paris Fashion Week had an ultrasound of an unborn baby on it because he's pro-life.
What the hell? That is the most Kanye West thing I've ever heard.
He's just wearing an ultrasound of an unborn baby around Paris Fashion Week.
That's awesome.
Because he's pro-life, and he wants Tucker to know that.
Like, if I was pro-life, that'd be the hardest thing I've ever seen.
That's what I'm saying. I'd be like, you know what? He's standing up for the culture.
Like, if I had less of an ability to critical think, I would like that too.
If I was fucking stupid.
This is art for the plebeians, you know what I'm saying? And they're loving it. I know they're loving it.
They're eating this shit up. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I wish I could be confident in knowing that Kanye West is just doing this to grift off of all of them. I mean, I'm not sure that he is.
At this point, he's not.
He's not, but like if I knew it to be true that he was, I would fully support the grift because it's hilarious. But unfortunately, he believes these things.
Then he went on to say that 50% of Black death is abortions.
Bro just made it up.
Oh, yeah. Bro just lied. Just got on Tucker and lied, which isn't a surprise. He then goes on to say some shit like how, I don't care what other... Tucker's like, well, how do you feel about, like, the backlash? He's like, I don't care. I only perform for God. And you know that audience was eating it up.
Yeah,
it's the people who watch Tucker every day. They're like, yes, Brother West.
It feels beneath us to even, like, debunk what Kanye is saying. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. It
feels like I don't even need to.
It's so out of pocket. But anyway, Tucker goes on to ask him when he started to feel this way. And by this way, he means conservative. To which...
when did you have to come out as conservative? That's what it's literally like a father talking to his gay son.
So when did these feelings start coming? Was it the sleepover?
Yeah.
Was it the sleepover? I knew I shouldn't have let those boys come over.
Oh my God.
But anyway, Ye said that it all started in 2016, pretty much just like everything bad that's happening today. It all started in
Darkest
2016 when everyone in Hollywood was against Trump except him. So that's a fun little preface to get into the next thing that he... True.
Don't forget Tom.
And a bunch of other celebrities, mind you.
Many other celebrities.
Mind you. Kanye went on to say, people around him told him that people get killed for wearing MAGA hats. And then he continued on to say that if you wore a White Lives Matter shirt, you would be, quote, green lit. Which he then went on to say means that it's okay for you to get beat up.
When has this ever happened?
This is a lie.
Yeah,
this is a lie.
It's a caricature.
No one has ever come up to him and said, yeah, people get killed for wearing those MAGA hats.
Yeah,
People get killed for wearing the red hat. You don't understand what you're doing. People get green lit for wearing those shirts, which I don't even think is a term.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get beat up for wearing a White Lives Matter shirt.
People wearing MAGA hats all the time.
Oh, my God.
It happens all the time.
You see people wearing way bolder shit all the time.
Confederate flag type shit.
Oh, my God.
Wait a minute. The people proudest in being racist are the ones that have, like, Confederate flags on their pickup trucks.
Yeah.
They don't hide it.
Yeah.
Because they're not afraid, because no one's going to do anything about it except be like, you're racist.
They're, in fact, the ones that are going to beat up the other people.
Right. Like, and sometimes they prompt, and like, they start impromptu protests against them for being so racist. But, like, that only happens if you're, like, on a college campus.
And they're agitating.
Yeah.
Like, that's when that happens.
No one kills them, though.
If you put two people in the room, and one of them had a Black Lives Matter shirt on, and one of them had a White Lives Matter shirt on, I'm gonna let you guess which one would probably be more likely to start a violent altercation and escalate the situation here. And it's not the Black Lives Matter person.
Take me back to when Kanye West was on the news and said George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm going to get to later. But
anyway, I miss the old Kanye.
Yeah, I miss the old Kanye. Ye triumphantly said, "Green light me then."
Come on, dog.
He's like, you can green light me then, because I'm gonna do it. I believe in this.
He's like the most popular rapper in the history of the world.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
dog, come on.
One of the most famous people of all time.
The richest rapper, probably.
I was a Donda defender.
Yeah.
But I'm a Donda defender, not a Kanye defender.
Art and the artist.
When everyone was saying Donda's too long, I was like, no, but it's like good though. The Griselda song goes crazy. The run from like I wanna go to the moon to that song and like Off the Grid, nuts, insane run, insane like 6-song run right there. But anyway, back to the interview.
Okay.
Back to the meat and
Back
potatoes.
to business, yeah.
Back to business. This business, the podcast.
Back to political analysis, yeah.
That's right. He then spends the rest of the short interview explaining the White Lives Matter shirt. He goes on to talk about how he wore it because he thought it was funny and because white lives do matter. And then he talks about a conversation he had with his father, who used to be an ex-Black Panther. And I never understood why he was an ex-Black Panther until now.
Oh, I thought,
Yeah.
So I thought he meant ex-Black Panther as in he died and is no longer alive, therefore no longer a Black Panther. He means ex-Black Panther because he intentionally left the organization. Okay,
yes, and is vehemently against anything good now.
This makes a lot of sense.
He then goes on to talk about how he was having a conversation with his dad, and after his dad saw the shirt, he texted him and said, "White lives matter, ha 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 ha." And Kanye said, why do you think that that's like funny, Dad? And he said, because you're stating the obvious.
Come on, dog. It's so corny. Like, why?
I know. It's awful. This is the most corny. If I did rank corny things, this has got to be number one.
Like, again, maybe I could defend this somehow if I knew it was a grift, but now that I know it's like genuine and in earnest, it makes me sad for him.
And it's
you know
like,
what I mean?
It's like with that, they're like, yeah, it's like obvious to say white lives matter. Like they think it's controversial. And then he said that it's only controversial because he's not doing what the media thinks he's going to do, which is just a fucking massive lie. Everyone knows that Kanye's known for doing this shit.
Yeah.
No one thinks that Kanye's not going to pull a stunt like this.
Yeah, no.
So that's one part where he is just absolutely detached from reality.
Like a few months ago when it came out that Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian were together, he like had a mental breakdown on social media calling out Pete and like posting screenshots of text messages and stuff. Like this is who Kanye is.
The one music video that was so out of pocket where he killed Pete Davidson. Yeah. Wild. Like Kanye, everyone expects you to do shit like this.
Yeah, no, this is not out of the ordinary. It's still out of pocket. But it's not out of the ordinary.
Incredibly out of pocket, and incredibly corny, and also the art is just bad.
Yeah, it's bad art.
This is not, if you want to use the art angle, this is not good art. This is bad art. Because he's positioning this as if, I'm bad at reading, guys. He's positioning this as if we're all stupid for not seeing that, oh my God, guys, white lives do matter, because obviously they do. And he's trying to paint this avant-garde picture of what he's doing by saying, look at this juxtaposition. Society doesn't want me, a black man, to say white lives matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like
that's what he thinks he's doing here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same thing with like when Candace Owens does this type of thing and all of the right panders to her, right? Like they think that they're making some kind of statement by going against what like the vast majority of people are saying. But really, you're just kind of playing into the same structures that necessitate organizations like Black Lives Matter existing.
Yeah, you're tokenizing yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in a way playing into those same stereotypes. You're a sheep of the other herd.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to be so different that you end up just hurting yourself.
Yeah, that's the problem with just being contrarian is that it doesn't make you any less of a quote-unquote sheep because you're just anything that the other side does, or I guess the quote-unquote mainstream does, you'll just do the opposite. It's the same thing.
Like, no matter what, no critical, their same level of critical thought is there, whether you're following the crowd or following the crowd, just not following the crowd, just for the sake of not following the crowd. You're thinking the same here. Yeah, and you're not smart.
It's like, he doesn't have like a principled opposition to Black Lives Matter.
No.
Like, he doesn't have any political philosophy to offer here other than I'm going against what people think that I will be for because I'm a black man and a very popular rap artist.
Exactly.
That's the extent of it.
Exactly.
Is that I'm just in opposition to what everyone think I should be for. That's all it is.
And it's like that idea just completely disregards real cultural context and not the fake context that conservatives make up in their head to feign persecution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if we ignore the art angle of this, he went on to his Instagram story later that night to say, quote, "Everyone knows Black Lives Matter was a scam. Now it's over. You're welcome." Now, people have like taken that statement and given it a lot more charitability than it deserves and assume that he's talking about the organization, like the philanthropic organization Black Lives Matter in of itself.
Did it end? He said it was over. Did Black Lives Matter
like it's a scam? It's over. Like I just exposed that Black Lives Matter is a scam. But it's like that's even that statement is non-controversial.
Yeah.
Like Black Lives Matter the organization has been just shrouded in controversy for like the better part of the last 2 years.
But they're Marxists.
Like the owners even do like a lot of shady shit that I myself don't agree with. Like they've been doing a lot of like bonus shit that you see CEOs do and all that. It's like they've done shady shit. No one, when they say Black Lives Matter, is ever talking about the organization.
Right, yeah.
Everyone knows the organization.
The broader movement.
Kind of awful.
About, yeah.
But the movement is great, and the movement is separated from the organization. So it's like that statement is non-controversial. You're not doing anything. You're not subverting any expectations by saying that, Kanye. He's living in his own fucking world.
Yeah.
Like he's doing the typical conservative thing.
No, anytime people talk about BLM, it's always the broader movement and the message that BLM is attempting to get across, which is, if not defund the police, then we need a radical restructuring of how police function, such that black people are no longer disproportionately targeted with police violence.
And such that no one is being brutalized. Because another thing that people bring up in these conversations, like, oh, we need to say white lives matter because white lives do matter. It's not just black lives that matter. Black Lives Matter routinely shows up to police brutality of any race.
Yeah.
They're against it in all forms, not just black forms.
Yeah,
it just so happens that black people are disproportionately brutalized.
Yeah, no, that's the point they miss. And it's like, when we talk about raw numbers, more white people die at the hands of the police than black people do. But that's just because there's more white people in the country. The point is that nobody should be dying at the hands of the police, and it's a problem that black people die at disproportionate rates because that means that black lives aren't mattering right now.
And it's like, this discourse is like 5 years old at this point.
No, it feels like I shouldn't have to repeat this stuff.
Like, this feels like Gamergate shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everyone has been over, like, the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter thing. And the White Lives Matter thing being just straight up a white supremacist version of All Lives Matter.
Straight up,
as if All Lives Matter wasn't already white supremacist in of itself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if you can say All Lives Matter, you can say Black Lives Matter. There's nothing controversial about saying white, like... It's like a weird like semantic game you have to play here, right? Because there's nothing controversial about being like, oh yeah, white lives matter. But that statement in of itself carries a lot of cultural context with white supremacy. Like, you don't go around saying white lives matter because it's going to be assumed that you're talking about the white supremacists that say that.
Right. And it's like the all lives matter thing is just a protest to a protest. That's all it is. It's
meaningless.
It's opposing people calling for reform to protect those in their community that have been disproportionately targeted. It's being against that for the only reason being that, I don't know what, you don't want to see some structural reform, or you just don't understand what you're advocating for. That's all it is. All lives matter isn't a real thing. It's not a thing that people actually believe. It's just an attempt to, I don't know, get away from, or it's a way to, I don't know, like, absolve yourself from any responsibility. It's a way to ignore this issue. Yeah, that's all it is.
Be like, oh my God, look at them. They're being exclusionary. It's conservative identity politics.
Yeah.
It's conservative wokeness. Like that the antithesis of wokeness. You know what I mean? It's just the same thing for a conservative. But anyway, even if we want to get back to the art, if you're talking to someone and they're just a habitual Kanye West dick rider and they want to be dense and talk about, well, this is art. Why can't he make a statement and express himself? I'm gonna get into a quick little discussion about why conservative cultural critique through art is generally never good and always kind of awful. Because when we look at certain kinds of art, the effect a piece has and the message derived from it has little to do with the art in of itself and a lot to do with the context surrounding the piece. I remember there's this Virgil Abloh lecture, keep it a Virgil, let me get 2 Virgils, you know what I mean? Yeah. This Virgil Abloh lecture where he's talking about how anything can be art, and I think the example that he used was a can. While the can itself in an everyday context is just a can or even trash, if you put it in a controlled setting, if you can stage it in a certain way and change the context it's presented in, its meaning changes. That's how art works. That's why frames matter. That's why that's why you view an abstract piece in a museum differently than you view an abstract piece you see on Instagram.
Right, exactly.
It's about context. It's about how you view it, how you perceive the piece. And that's to say, again, that art doesn't exist in a vacuum. The way you frame something literally and figuratively affects how it's viewed and by extension, meaning derived. The context of this piece, however, is Kanye's recent political endeavors. And it's almost as if for every new slaves or George Bush doesn't care about black people that he's had, there's a modern literally going to the Oval Office to visit Trump or slavery was a choice moment.
Yeah.
Like that's the context surrounding Kanye West as a person and everything he's been making these past 4 years.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years.
And it's like you can say like separate the art from the artist. And I understand like
I believe in separate the art from the artist.
Yeah, like it does work, but it's also like ignoring the context that surrounds Kanye West when he does White Lives Matter or stunts like that is to ignore the point of the art itself, which is he is, I don't know, drama farming at this point? Like, is that's all he's really doing?
But it's like, even if we're going to talk about like separate the art from the artist, I wholeheartedly am a separate the art from the artist defender. Like, I fucks with Lana Del Rey heavy, right? She's done a lot of questionable shit in the past. Like in her Ride music video, she dressed up and put like a Native American headdress on. Yikes. That's fucked. I don't like that at all. That's problematic. However, I can still like that song because that stunt has nothing to do with the song.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That stunt has nothing to do with the content of the music that she creates. Kanye West here is trying to be politically subversive. You cannot separate this art from the artist because the art is the artist. He's doing performance art.
He's a part of the piece. That's what it is. He's a part of the piece.
You can separate Kanye West from Off the Grid because that song bangs.
Yeah.
However, you can't separate Kanye West from Yeezy Season 9 fashion show, his fashion brand.
Yeah, no, it's because he is, in this instance, a part of the artwork because he himself is a political figure that has been pushing these kinds of, if not narratives, then art pieces for as long as he's been alive.
Yeah, and it's like he has positioned himself as a figure within the right wing. He consistently allows right-wing politicians and pundits to use him for their own personal gain and for the gain of the conservative movement and as a whole. He let Candace Owens jump on every single opportunity she could back when he was sucking Trump's dick.
Yeah.
To do whatever, to push conservatism, to do her little Blexit shit that she's been trying to do.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, that's nuts. Apparently, she's coming to Michigan State's campus on April 7th for a Blexit event, a Turning Point USA Blexit event.
You're so lucky.
I kind of want to try to go.
You're so lucky.
I kind of want to go and just like passively observe and see what kind of stupid questions people answer. I don't think I could ever get up there and be one of those people that challenges her at her own stage because
she has all the power there. Yeah,
I'm so I could never be like that kid who went up to Ben Shapiro and was talking about like the pencil thing to explain capitalism. If I got booed, I'd cry.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's like she has all the power in that situation.
Exactly.
Like,
she's just gonna bully me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get kicked out. Whatever. I'm gonna make a fool of myself.
She's gonna be like fatherlessness, and then you gotta leave.
But I would like to observe.
Yeah.
I would like to observe. If it's free, I might try to pull up. I feel like that'd be fun. But anyway, that's the context that underlies every vaguely political thing that Kanye engages in. You fundamentally cannot separate those two things. And this is all besides the fact that, again, everyone knows or should know that White Lives Matter is a corny white supremacist phrase.
It is, yeah.
And it's even more white supremacist than All Lives Matter, which is also corny and also awful and just straight up bad.
Yeah, and it's like people will say, well, it's a black man saying White Lives Matter. How can that be white supremacist? And it's like, again, these phrases themselves do hold meaning. It's not just the deliverer of the phrase that matters. Kanye West saying it is still a white supremacist slogan in the same way that a Confederate flag is still a white supremacist symbol. All it does is, again, symbolize white supremacy within its, structure.
Like in today's cultural context, there is no reclaiming White Lives Matter.
Yeah.
There is no reclaiming the Confederate flag because people are still actively using those to like oppress people. You know what I mean? You can't do it. It's off the table right now.
And it's like if white people were disproportionately killed by the police, then there's like a conversation to be had, but that's not reality.
It's not what's going on.
Right. And it never has been.
And there's still like people still have that conversation though.
Yeah.
They just don't use White Lives Matter because sometimes phrases are co-opted by people.
Yeah.
And that changes the meaning of the phrase. Language is a little fucky. Yeah. It's a little weird. It's this weird thing. But like even so, like Kanye thinks that this is criticizing race. He thinks that this is some profound statement about how we treat race. And then he said some colorblind shit, like later on, like, they only see me as like a black man. They put that color on me or some dumb shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
okay.
whatever. But what this piece is actually doing is emboldening right-wing rhetoric right before the midterms.
Yeah.
And that's awful. That's very bad.
I don't know that it'll really do anything, though. I don't think Kanye
so
West has a big grip on electoral politics. But
yeah.
I don't think like him coming in right now and doing this stunt's really going to make a difference.
Oh, no.
Like people that watch Fox News, people that see the interview, if they like Tucker Carlson, are going to probably just agree with everything.
They were already,
it's not going to change anyone's
mind. The people
mind.
who are like seeing that and thinking, yeah, this dude's spitting, are the same people that one, recite crime statistics, and two, were already going to vote conservative. I just don't like the idea that like now Candace Owens has some new shit to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tucker
great.
Carlson he must have scrapped what he had on his show that day to get him on.
Yeah.
And the funniest part of the interview to me was not even the out of pocket shit Kanye said. It's the fact that Tucker only talked like 3 times.
Really?
Like
you just let him go?
It's like he was spitting. On your drive home, you should watch it. Everyone listening, you should go and watch the interview. There's a bunch of different clips, but the one you should watch, I think, is 16 minutes.
Okay.
And it's posted on the Fox News video, and that's where he talks about all the things that I just said. But yeah, Kanye's just fucking going.
He's just spitting.
The whole time, he's spitting. And at one point, Tucker laughed.
Because that's free content.
Oh, he was so excited because he knows that Kanye is going to say everything that he wants to say, but he can say it more because Tucker can't just outright say black people are bad.
Right, no, exactly. And it's like conservatives, as much as they say they hate identity politics, they're fully aware of how to weaponize identity. And that is exactly what people like Tucker Carlson do when they have someone like Candace Owens or Kanye West on that can say all of the same stuff but go a little bit farther than they can.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. They can just co-sign it with just no repercussions at all.
Does that bring us to the Kanye tweet, though, that almost popped off?
Oh, my God. I almost forgot to mention the Kanye tweet. So outside of this, Kanye has just been going fucking crazy.
He's a poster.
He got banned off of Instagram. I don't know exactly what it was for, but he tweeted his first tweet on Twitter in like a year or two. Last night, I believe. And the first tweet was like, Mark, I thought we were friends, something like that.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I had seen on TikTok this morning when I woke up to just get ready for the day, scroll on TikTok, ruin my brain a little bit.
A little bit of brain rot.
A little bit of ruin my brain to start the day. I saw this TikTok that said, I can't defend Kanye anymore. This one's just too much. And it was like all black and white and like really serious. And I was like, what the fuck did he do this time? Like, I can't get worse than the White Lives Matter thing. Let me pull up the tweet. So Kanye tweeted, I saw that TikTok, right? And I immediately went to Twitter because I was like, whatever he said couldn't be as bad.
Naturally. Could
not be as bad as the White Lives Matter going on Tucker Carlson, emboldening white supremacy, doing all that, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So much worse.
Okay.
I get on Twitter. The tweet, there's a banner that says this tweet has been deleted by Twitter for violating our content rules. And so I had to scour Google to like try to find it, right? And here's the tweet. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on, all caps, Jewish people. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda.
That's crazy, dog.
Nuts.
Bro is shadowboxing.
Anti-Semitism just on the timeline.
Bro is, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like a mental illness or something else.
It's mental illness. It has to be mental illness.
But bro is fighting some demons.
Yeah.
Like, who is you? Like, you guys are pushing your agenda.
Oh, it's the Jews.
Well, okay.
It's the Jews. Like, it's 100% the Jews.
Okay.
It's on some New World Order type, like, conspiracy shit. And it's just fucking insane.
New World Order globalism. Jewish people are taking everything over.
Like, that's just feels so much worse than...
How did he get here?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
It must like he must have gotten into some crowds after coming out as a MAGA supporter.
He must have got in with the wrong crowd.
Infected his brain, dog.
No, literally, because even in the Tucker interview, he was talking shit about his mom too. Like he was talking shit about his mom being a liberal and how she kept me from my conservative father. It's like, yeah, good.
Yeah,
you did good things before.
Your mom's doing a moral good. She's keeping you away. Yeah. Oh my God, that's awful.
But yeah, that tweet just
It's a good way to end the episode.
It's so fucking
We'll leave
bad.
you with that little truth nugget.
It's so bad.
to suckle on and digest over the next few hours. Anyway, before we leave, I think it's time to thank our beautiful, beautiful patrons.
Yes.
The people that make it all possible.
Got to.
The people that
the angel investors.
bring it home at the end of the day.
The people that put the gas in my car, although they're going to be putting less gas in my car, but giving me the same amount of money.
The people that tune in every week to listen to man-made horrors beyond their comprehension.
Yes.
The patrons. So special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Caden Kraut, Lord T, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Katz, 40% Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, The B Plot, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Ash Fairblood, Mark Yeager, Sarah McRoberts, Derek Messina, Dylan B, The Mind Sculptors, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobs, Carl D, Rich Toro Tari, Gavin Meyer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vasquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Megan Latau, Jeff Muzzy, Ted Cruz's Boy Toy, Bagel Burrito, Alexander Vanolas, Jasper Higueras, and my mom. Thank you all for supporting the show on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you.
Absolutely not.
Hopefully, we're using a new recording software today. Hopefully, the episode came out okay.
Hopefully, the episode recorded.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it used our mics and not the laptop audio.
Yeah, we'll fingers crossed on that one.
Exactly. We wouldn't want an episode 10 repeat, but
Exactly.
this time, if you don't know, if you're not a old head,
If you're not a hit head, yeah.
Episode 10 of the podcast, we actually recorded off the laptop mic instead of our actual mics on accident, and we re-recorded the whole pod.
Yeah.
Right after.
That was a rough day.
That was awful.
Recording the pod is exhausting.
Felt bad about myself.
I'm fighting for my life when I do this for y'all.
Talking,
so that's why
hard work.
Share my opinion, articulate. That's why y'all have to go to the Patreon to compensate me for my trouble.
Exactly. It's like now when I share my opinion, people are like, who asked? I'll be like, oh, the 56 patrons.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who asked? Oh, I'll tell you who asked. Nikki Nine Lives, Keaton Crowd, Lord T, Chris the Postman.
The 1,400 people that tune in every week to listen to the pod. That's who asked. It's you of all. It's all of you. It's all of you. Thank you for listening.
Have a great week.
We'll see y'all next week.